Hello, good evening and welcome. January is over, but DoddieAid is not. All of you people that made promises for the 31 days of January, get back out there and get going because we finish on February 12th. That's right, in Cardiff with the Doddie Cup. It is all happening. It is going off. So many posts complaining about the Barbarians cheating this week. I'm glad you were all paying attention because that was a test. We are back. You've been walking, you've been cycling, you've been doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I think we've been around the globe. How bonkers is it that every January people get on their bikes and go around the globe in the name of Doddie? We're all tartaned up. Broadcasting royalty has already commented, and I am very excited to see him. If I had to describe him in just one word, it would be smolder. I just think he's a smolder. He's magnificent, and the scene is set for a magnificent finish with the big man from BBC and all those other nice things where he uses that smolder to communicate his words of joy and wisdom and analysis. We've also got a Team Edinburgh legend, we've got a Team South legend, and we've got a Welsh Baabaas legend. It's all going off tonight. You're not here to listen to me. You want to see all these good people. I've still no idea how to say his surname. We've still never met in person, but DoddieAid is going to make it happen because next week I'm getting to meet Team Edinburgh captain, the one and the only Davy Zyw. Let's bring him in. Hello, Davy.
Hello, Bruce. How are we?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Like you've run a comb through that hair.
I have done. I made
That's
the effort. I even put a fresh t-shirt on this evening.
you're the kind of guy that absolutely rocks the white t-shirt and blue jeans.
It's true. It's true. New sneaks, blue jeans, white tee.
Yeah. Yeah, you are a man of class because we've known you through this as doing all kinds of crazy stuff like snowboarding in your budgie smugglers, but also having to tame the beast, Ali McCoist.
So me and Ali, we went back to DoddieAid, the inaugural DoddieAid, our first dinner party wine tasting. There wasn't a lot of wine discussion going on. I was planning a lot of explaining around the vinification, fermentation methods of the different wines, the organoleptic qualities found within the glass. We didn't get to any of that, but we did, but we did have an absolute blether about Ali's whole day in Portugal and some good old stories about his football days. We had a brilliant time.
He's quite a man. He is unique, and as are you. I mean, tell us your story that brings you to be part of DoddieAid.
Yeah, so I feel my relationship with DoddieAid is a painful one. It's a sad one because tragically, the year after Doddie, I was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. So at the age of 30, which left which tore through the fabric of my life and my family's life at the time, and obviously at the time, we're all here because we want to show our support and build around Doddie and the MD community, and I am part of that community. So my relationship with Doddie and DoddieAid came from the fact that I am a patient of Doddie's doctors. We share a lot of healthcare. We share a lot of support because our healths, our lives are tragically linked by this dreadful, currently incurable disease. So when I got diagnosed when I was 30, when you get, Bruce, let me tell you, when you get diagnosed with an incurable condition when you're 30, you chuck your toys out the pram, which I did, and I took some time out, and because the stats were the average age from diagnosis is 2 years. So do as you wish. So I've been doing as I wish for almost 4 years now, Bruce. And I've, had to make some life changes, which have been incredible. I'm now a married man. I'm now a father. I've been riding my bike a lot. I've been doing a lot of snowboarding. I take a lot of pride in everything I do. But I'm almost 4 years into my diagnosis now. And so I'm gone against the grain, against a lot of people who have been diagnosed with the condition. And I'm doing everything I can to maintain my health and champion and fight this disease, taking inspiration from the big man Doddie and everyone in the DoddieAid community.
Davy, you are an inspiration. We posted out a video just very recently with you talking, and I know it hit a lot of people very hard, myself included, because although we've never met in the flesh, we've met so many times like this, and we're on about 25 different WhatsApp groups together, and God knows who sent what when. But you're an absolute inspiration, Davy, and I think it's been really important to have you as part of this, because Doddie is obviously the focal point and has raised the profile, but I think it's important for people to see how it's impacting others and it's impacting you, but to see those videos of you and your budgie smugglers at Hill End on your snowboard, people can see that there is hope and that there is inspiration from what is a pretty dark place.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of my motivation, strength, it's from the people around me. And I think, what January now signifies with DoddieAid is the extended support network. And it's been so incredibly motivating and encouraging to see everyone. Because at the end of the day, it's the money that people are raising now. It's actually going to help. It's going to help Doddie. It's going to help the MD community. It's going to help me. So I'm incredibly grateful for everyone who's been involved. And to be honest, I go snowboarding quite a lot anyway. Not often. I usually wear clothes when I go snowboarding, because I tell you what, Bruce, if you've been up Hill End, have you ever fallen that?
Yeah, it's not fun.
God, even through a jacket, it will take your skin off. So when you're in your keeks, my God, it stings.
I love it when you're in your keeks, and you're the leader of Team Edinburgh, and that's a pretty big title to be in charge of your capital city. How does that role fall on your shoulders?
I just walk through, and down Prince Street, it's like the Red Sea. People just park and cheer and clap. No, not quite. No, but I'm incredibly proud and privileged to be top of the tree, leading Team Edinburgh the way. And of course, we've got some incredible co-captains and support around me. Mark Beaumont's been an absolute tour de force.
How amazing is that guy? Don't you just love him?
Every angle, he's impressive. Every angle. And he's been, bringing in the larger cycle community involved. What he does on a bike and off the bike are equally impressive. But so is this band, and of course A-Lead, a lot of the Edinburgh Rugby guys, Hamish, Jamie has been amazing this year. So there's and many others too, which I'm sure we'll get to. But I feel incredibly proud to be team captain for Edinburgh. But of course, and I suppose I'm proud of the fact my lapel is the fact that I've got MMD, and I managed to continue to do what I do. And to be, I think, being team captain of Edinburgh gives me even more motivation to go out and get after it, as Natty would say.
And you've spoken about the team, and you've spoken about taking inspiration from the wider community. Social media has brought so much of that right in front of our faces. What have you seen that's made you think, love that, I want to meet that person, can't wait to see them? Some, especially Team Edinburgh, there's 2 or 3 people in Team Edinburgh who are absolutely smashing it.
Oh, there's been incredible people. In fact, and one thing, I know there's been on social media, obviously, we kicked off the Looney Duke. Oh my God, it was freezing. It was freezing, Bruce.
I can't believe you chose Granted. Whose thinking was that?
It was you know what? Mark and I were discussing. We were going to go Petlands first after the reservoirs. That would have been even colder, I reckon.
Yeah,
it would have been more scenic, but would have been colder maybe. Anyway, we got it done. It was great. But the Looney Duke started, and the fact that the McLeod family have been incredible. Louise, who is herself an MMD nurse, she looks after people. She does home visits for people on ventilators and people who with the condition who are a lot further down the line. And to see the life in her and the passion in her and her family, her husband and her son Caleb, have been incredible. And huge round of applause and thanks to them. And one thing that's been great, one thing to see on social media, but as you know, because I know you spoke with Mark about this the other week, the fact that we've been out as a Team Edinburgh peloton a few of these Saturdays of the last couple of weeks. So I was looping around our home circuit of Arthur's Seat, and then 2 weeks ago we went out to North Berwick. Have been absolutely incredible. And to see young Caleb, who on his mount, I mean, I'm all the gear, no idea, Bruce. You know, I've done quite a bit of cycling in my time, but not compared to Mark. I mean, I'm in my Lycra, my SPD pedals, my fancy carbon bike. Caleb is keeping pace in his trainers on his mountain bike all the way to North Berwick. I mean, what a wee hero! What a hero! And to see him doing the World in the Day last weekend was equally inspiring. So there's many characters I can name in Edinburgh. The McLeod family have been going above and beyond.
Yeah, it's been so good, and last year we probably needed it even more than we did this year because we were in proper lockdown. This year, to do something like that and be round Arthur's Seat and out to North Berwick has just been spectacular, and it's bringing people together and giving them a sense of belonging and then doing some good, and that's what we're here for. So let's keep this train going with some awards, Davy. So every week we give out the good people at Genius who donate 5p of every can to the My Name is Doddie Foundation. So thank you to Charlie and Jason for their continued support. We've got some winners here to get a crate of 12 Genius for the good things that are going on. Now, the South, this one was chosen by my team, Davy. Now, Derek Robertson is a bit of a wind-up merchant, and that's really why he's won. Derek is at the ambulance station in Hawick, and he loves to wind up the ambulance station in Gala. So the ambulance station in Hawick appears to be out in front to the ambulance station in Gala, and he likes to bring up that they're pale mercs, and he likes to give them a bit of stick. So Derek, you are going to win the Genius, but it is to be shared with everybody on your shift that is putting in the distance for DoddieAid. So well done.
I know it's a lighter alcohol, but do not drink the Genius before you go out in the ambulance. Would be my recommendation.
I love that we've still got the safety element to this. Be responsible, people. Be responsible. The Northern Mids, who have just blown it out the water again, and Ross Duncan. I mean, come on, 5,000 miles in 31 days is just crazy.
That is bonkers. Take a bow, Ross Duncan. In that
Mark Beaumont, eat your heart out. Think I've averaged about 4 hours of sleep a night, burnt over 200,000 calories during 31 days, past the 5,000 mile mark, and he still had 90 minutes left. So he just kept going.
Incredible.
I don't know, Ross, let us know. Would you be doing that without DoddieAid, or has DoddieAid been the catalyst? That is just... I don't think I've been 5,000 miles on a plane in the last 2 years, so that is really impressive.
I do a fair amount of cycling, Bruce, and last year I did 5,000 miles over a full year, and that's me going out, 3-4 days a week. So the fact he's crammed that into 31 days is not shy of extraordinary. So well done, Ross Duncan. Incredible.
Bonkers. The Baabaas, the winner for the Baabaas is Harriet Kopok, who's also racked up a whole load of miles. 2,375 miles. And you just got to love it. Our snoods have arrived now. There's always a dig at the snoods. So you can see the type of thing that people are getting involved with: spin classes, biking, walking while the tea's cooking, swimming, extra lap. Just amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible to see, and the fact that and that's one of the great advantages of DoddieAid and how we've done it last year, but importantly this year, is the fact that you don't need to be riding 240 miles, you don't need to be riding 5,000 miles. Some crazy lunatics are Ross Duncan, But you can be walking around your sofa, you could be helping your nan with their cup of tea, you can be logging your miles anyway, and it's an inclusive campaign, and it's great to see.
There you go. Ross has given us a comment. I'm glad he's tuned in. Yeah, it's all training for another event for My Name is Doddie Foundation. Ross, brilliant.
Ross, in fact, I think we were I was listening to him at Overwhelmed the Day last weekend. He has got a very impressive, I think it might be a world record attempt he's trying over the next few months. So just best of luck to Ross Duncan in his efforts.
We love you, Ross. We know that for certain. Now, Team Edinburgh, this is a very popular winner. Now, I think I speak with a bit of experience here that Mary was also a winner last year when she was still living in Hong Kong and was making me feel hugely jealous by being up the peak and the hills around Hong Kong and getting the community there involved. And now she's back in God's country in our capital city. And look at this. She's been inspiring others to get involved, Davy, hasn't she?
She's been absolutely amazing. And, Mary got in touch with me before DoddieAid actually kicked off. I think she lived in Hong Kong for 15 years, and she's just done the most incredible job. One thing about going out doing her runs in between work in Edinburgh and London, up in St Andrews, she's been up at Hill End too, wearing a few more clothes than I was recently. But she's done an incredible job at motivating teammates, her friends, but also I know her children are at George Watson's College, and she was a huge help about building the community at GWC and getting them all on board. So a huge thanks to Mary for everything she's done for Team Edinburgh and DoddieAid as a whole, and a very, very worthy winner.
Awesome. And because we're now at Chinese New Year, Kung Hei Fat Choi, Mary, you are magnificent. And last, Glasgow, we've got Ken Nairn from Glasgow. £1,600 raised and lost £10. My spaniel loved it. Get that spaniel out for the Doddie Dog Walk on Saturday, Ken, and I bet the spaniel will love you even more. So good, Davy, so good. I want to make a little special mention to a friend of mine, Ollie Cook, who has been doing 5K a day every day and is Team North and Mid, so we won't hold that against him, the glory hunter. But Ollie Cook sent me a really nice message, so thank you, Ollie, and well done, and I'm so pleased you're involved. Davy, I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I'm looking forward to meeting you next Monday, I think it is.
Looking forward to this.
I'm going to get rid of all COVID protocols and give you an enormous hug, my friend. So just be prepared. Be prepared. Davy, have you got a rallying call before you disappear and put your feet up for the night?
100%. And I want to, again, first off, thanks everyone in DoddieAid, even if you're in Northern Mids. Thank you for being involved. But particularly to those to Team Edinburgh, of course. Just remember, we've got another 10 days of DoddieAid left to go, which is an action-packed 10 days. If you haven't signed up and you come across us this evening, please do. It takes a few minutes of application to log the app, download, donate £20 to get your snood. And if you can't, please log into the website, see what we're all about, and just donate some pounds and some pennies. Everything's welcome. But thank you to everyone who signed up so far. But please, to cure this incurable disease, we just need a little bit more awareness built and a bit more money and research. So thanks everyone involved, but please give us some more.
Love you, my friend. Great to see you.
Thank you, Bruce. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, stay safe. Love that guy. Absolutely love that guy. Packed full of inspiration. I cannot wait to see him next week. Let's keep this party going. This is a man I have admired for a long time. He's Team South. I'm very pleased we've got somebody repping Team South to come on, but he's currently doing some missionary work overseas that I'm really keen to speak to him about. He is always responsive, always ready to go, and the big man has also played with Doddie, so I've no doubt we're going to hear a little bit about this. He's a Jed legend. He's far from Riverside, but his heart is still there. The one and the only Mr. Neil McIlroy. Hello, sir.
Evening, Bruce. Talking me up, eh?
That is one of my favourite ties ever that I will never ever earn. Tell me about the tie.
Well, the tie itself is falling to bits, to be honest. I don't know if it's been in the cupboard for too long, but that's one of the old Sooth ties that I was honoured to be given back when I ran on in the back row in a small mini tour to Ireland. We played Belfast, played Ulster on the Friday night, Leinster on the Sunday afternoon. All the stars had gone back, all the JJs and Roger Beards had gone back on Friday night, and it was left to us to try and beat Ulster. And I got a run on in the back row ridiculously. And Derek Brown, back in the day from Melrose, presented me with this South tie afterwards. So very proud to wear it. It's getting a bit threadbare, but it's hanging in there.
That is a belter. I would give a lot for one of those, but it's never going to happen. So where do we find you?
Find me down in Clermont-Ferrand, in the middle of France. Yeah, that's me. I just sort of drew to a close 19 years at the club at Christmas there. So I'm kind of in a period of transition, stepping back from the club game and getting ready for the next step, which is still to be determined. But yeah, down in France, been over here for 25 years. Back in the day when the Reavers was done away with and then joined in with Edinburgh, I was left with a choice and decided to keep trying to play professional rugby, and came out to France where everybody laughed at me and laughed at my legs, and managed to apply a trade for a couple of years in the south of France, propping, and I've stayed here ever since.
You got to be either brave or bloody stupid to be a prop in France. Which one are you?
It's funny. I can remember speaking to Jim Hay, the day that we found out that the Reavers had been disbanded, and the pair of us were thinking about the next step, and we both were sort of saying, well, yeah, it'll be good to stay in professional rugby. And Hazel said to me, but we're definitely not going to France. It's brutal over there. It's fingers and eyes. It's get hands up the shots kind of stuff. And there's at least a good fist fight per game, you know. And that's what we'd said. But a month or two later, I found myself being contacted by an agent and headed down to Nice, down in the Côte d'Azur, to what was and still is a great experience.
Côte d'Azur's a bit different for the Riverside.
Yeah, but they have the same number of the stands at Riverside. They just had two stands, the same as the Royal Blues pitch, you know. So yeah, I flew into. I can remember leaving Jed and flying from Newcastle into Nice, and you flew over the palm lined promenade there. Had lunch with the president, you know, seafood by the marina. And yeah, it's probably a step up from the can in the pub in Jed, but I said, just give me a beer mat to sign, and I'm here, you know.
I bet you did. Well, talking about next steps, I see G'd have advertised for a coach.
What do you think? Throw my hat into the ring?
Well, why wouldn't you? Who needs palm-lined promenades when you've got the Riverside?
There's still trees up the side of that old railway line as you drive past Riverside in the 68, so that would be me. Yeah, I see that Jed's looking for a coach, but I don't think it's easy days, you know, given the broken up season again due to COVID and whatever. But yeah, listen, I'll get in touch with Paul Cranston and see if I can send him a CV.
Nice, I like it. How good was it seeing Glenn Young scoring for Edinburgh? Have you seen him playing yet?
Yeah, strangely enough, Glenn caught up with us a couple of years ago when he was with Quins, came over and played Claremont. And so he and I got a photo taken with the wee man with Grieg, because he was with us then, the current South DoddieAid captain. So the three of us got three Jed boys finding ourselves in Clermont-Ferrand in the changing room. Took a good old photo for nostalgia. And he's going well. It's nice to see him move north of the border again, and hopefully he'll make a good career at Edinburgh.
He did very well. He scored for the halfway line. He was absolutely burst. You wouldn't have thought that those nice new 4G pitches would get marshy towards the try line, but he got there. He got there eventually. It was brilliant. I was so pleased for him. He's a great guy. So you find yourself in Team South, and I'm delighted because you're a bit of a hero of mine. You've known Doddie for a long, long time. You've played with them and played against them. How much does being involved in Team South mean to someone like you?
Enormously, and I think being overseas, and I know that there's lots of people from around the world getting involved in this, not just for the South, but you do feel a bit detached. And it's nice that something like this, can pull all the rugby world together, the Scottish rugby world, the expatriated Scottish rugby world. It's great to be involved. I managed to go up and see the big fella at the farm when I was back in November, and it's very humbling. It's very grounding. You see the big man, and he's still, I think in the couple of hours I spent with him, he said to me 2 or 3 times, "I'm lucky because of this. I'm lucky because of that." And the way he's handled this, the way he's led the research, and not just for his own gain, obviously, far from it, for the research into finding a solution for this horrible disease has been phenomenal, and you just have to sort of take your hats off to him. I don't think I could have the strength to do half of what he's done if I was in the same situation.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what you guys who have played with him have really rallied around, haven't you? That I don't think anybody has ever said no to any request that's been made.
No, and nor should they. He's such a good man, and I can remember the day that I think it was Carl Hogg phoned me and gave me the sad news, and you just couldn't believe it. No matter who it happens to, having it happen to somebody who's such a get up and go person and full of life, and it was a double blow. He's. I don't think there's anybody that would say no to him in the rugby world, or even wider afield. There's Scotsmen from different walks of life all over the world. From acting, from politics, from everything. Chefs. Everybody's getting involved, and again, it's something that Doddie deserves, but also the research into this horrible disease deserves.
So come on, you've been in the changing room with him. We were giving him a bit of stick the other day, saying with Kenny Logan, we were saying when they used to play their games against County, the ref would come in and check the studs, and then everybody knew that those ones were unscrewed and longer ones and sharper ones were put in. It was just a different day, but it was especially at Langham when they used to water the changing rooms. What the hell? Like, what's your memory of playing against them? And the memory is probably what happened after the final whistle. What's the memory when being in the changing room? What was it like playing with them?
Well, playing with him, we did, I think, under 18s, under 21s, both South and National. And first of all, I think I had him in the early days of lifting, and that was fantastic. You actually you didn't have to lift him; you had to pull him down, because he was so light. So he was a great line-out asset. But I remember playing against him at Jed, and Melrose were full of talent and full of stars. And okay, we had a few talented players, but we used to try and meet all their class and flair with a bit of blood and guts, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But it was hard to target Doddie because you were scared you might snap his legs if you tackled him. And if you didn't, he would just waltz around you and offload the ball anyway, So he was part of a really good. I think the Melrose team back in those days sort of showed the way forward. Obviously with Creamy marshalling them, they managed to have all that sort of flair, all that skill, but also they're well drilled and well disciplined. The big man, he was as good off the field as on it, and I think the best memory I have of him, and it's one that I said to somebody not long ago, around about one of the charity events, was that I think he and I found ourselves in some Scottish team down in Seville playing the Spanish national team. This would be back in about 1991. And Peter Dodds was captain, and he insisted we were all kilted up to enjoy the Spanish feria that was going on. And he and I found ourselves together. And the thing about Jed and Melrose is that they were more skillful than us, but we could always drink them under the table. So it was like shooting fish in the barrel a little bit. So I had Doddie struggling by, let's say, 10, 11 o'clock. And I don't know if you've ever looked after a drunken giraffe wearing a kilt, 6 to 8 giraffe in the middle of Seville where you've got no Spanish whatsoever. I managed to get him home, get him back to the hotel, took him up to the room. I got a double of the key card at the reception, let him in, threw him onto the bed, arms, legs everywhere, out of it. And then I came out of the room and I came across sticks of Derek Turnbull and Alan Watt. Remember big Alan Watt?
Yeah.
And told them about Doddie and the state he was in, and they said, well, let's go and have a look. So I still had the key card, went in, And of course, he was out of it, the big man, lightweight, like his mate Hoggy. And but then we saw the minibar, and it was back in the day that a team manager didn't ask for the minibars to be emptied from the players' rooms, and it was full of all the goodies. It was, there was even champagne in there. So we physically lifted the minibar into the hallway and drank everything. Went back in and strategically placed the bottles round about Doddie on the bed. Put the fridge back in place, and then went back downstairs. And the next morning, the big fella came down green, as you can imagine, and then he was asking, "What did I do? Where did we go?" And then he said to me, he leaned in closer and said, "And you'll never guess what I did when I got back to my room."
Does he know this to this day, or is this news to him?
This is probably news to him, so you might want to see if we can put a bit of the DoddieAid fund to one side to pay for that barbell or that mini barbell that's still outstanding from some hotel in Seville.
Do you know what cracks me up about that story? The job that you've done with one of the powerhouses of rugby in Europe, and when you look on the website, it says that your job is that you take care of the life of the group. Brilliant. Yeah,
I was learning my trade even back in those days.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Neil, I think you know this, but we're going to show a picture now of something that we managed to make happen at Scottish Borders Council headquarters in Newtown. Doddie and I had a bit of an idea to get a flag made. So we got a flag made, and it was, there's his mate, Gaz. We'll not talk about my feather on the far right there, because that is who I'm turning into, a bit like Anakin Skywalker. So, Doddie, we've got the Team South DoddieAid flag going up. Thank you to the Border Telegraph and Scottish Borders Council for the photograph. Dodge was there with Kathy, Councillor David Parker and his guide dog. David Parker's been doing a lot of miles with the dog for DoddieAid and has been contributing, and we made that happen. Of course, Doddie being Doddie sends me a message, "Well done. Not bad for a man that pretends to be Fragala, but the flag's only one-sided." So luckily, everybody's only seeing that side of the flag. But a brilliant thing on Friday, and what we're hoping is the flag's going to go on tour around the border clubs for various different events to keep DoddieAid and the foundation in the forefront of everybody's mind. Neil, I've loved speaking to you. We're going to bring in somebody else, but before we do, you're our man in the camp. What can we expect for France for the Six Nations? Are they going to be very French again, or has Sean Edwards made them a wee bit sharper?
Well, I think that's just exactly it. They're not as French as they used to be, but they've kept the good part that they had. So the French flair, the individual initiative, still there. But as you say, they've now got structure. They've now got organisation and defence. They've got a good staff, a good balanced sort of coaching staff behind them. And look out, because I think they can only get better. They're still young. The key is probably Antoine Dupont. It'd be dangerous to say that everything's based solely around him. They've got pace out wide. They've got a streetwise, albeit young, back row, and obviously the set piece, they can give it to anybody. So they're going to be up there. They have to be one of the favourites for the title.
Being the reserve scrum half for France will be a bit like being Warren Gatland with the All Blacks. Sean Fitzpatrick's not coming off. You're not taking Dupont off, are you? You're not getting a game. You're leaving him on.
Yeah, you have to ask Greg Oliver about that. Then poor old Greg had that back in the day with Roy and then Gary. Exactly. You're going to have the same dilemma. I think if he was to get injured, he's not only the best player but also the captain. So will that leave a bit of a vacuum behind? But you wouldn't want to be the number 2 scrum half.
Speaking of number 1 scrum halves, I'm going to bring him in alongside you, Neil, because this man is an absolute hero of mine. I was a little bit sad because he's just arrived home from work and he's actually got a collar on. So I'm hoping he's tucked it inside his shirt, because we all love the iconic images of this man with no collar. And we're part of a campaign, Neil. I don't know if you're willing to get involved in this. It's bring back the dive pass. We think the dive pass is the thing that is missing from the professional game. This man I just love. He's the one and the only Mr. Rupert Hat-Wearer Moon. Hello, sir.
Showing my colours here. Collar hidden well. Look at that.
You look like one of the kids for the Bass Street Kids.
I know. It makes the only thing is it flattens my nose and I can't breathe because it goes in front of my mouth. So it's in some ways it's better to look like that, but actually the old beak drops down below chin. So but there we are.
See, I like it because I get to lose my double chin.
It's a good point actually.
I like that. I like that. Forget doing 5,000 miles. I can get rid of my double chin just with my snood. Mooney, what do you think about Anton Dupont? Boy's got game, eh? Boy's got game.
And he dive passes. He actually does. I have photographic and video evidence that he will get the ball out anyhow. Obviously, he's a little bit lower to the ground than I was and didn't leave a furrow like I used to, but he'll get it in and away, whatever way. So I think he's got the other nod that the campaign is well underway. I always have regrets that I never went to France. I had a chance to go and sign for Bourgoin way back in the day. And Marc Session was the number 8 in those days, I think he was, and he approached me. I'm glad I didn't, because obviously he had a misdemeanor later on with a very large shotgun, I think it was. When you upset him,
misdemeanor,
he goes around doing that. But I used to also sneak away at the end of the season and play for Soissons, just outside Paris, for the regional director of Moet et Chandon. And they were playing like a French bar. They were called the Rugby Champagne, so the Champagne Barbarians. And we play in this little village, Soissons, and there'd be Fabien Galtier and all these legends of the game. And we'd be playing against Soissons. And then what a feast. I always wanted to go, and I was going to go at the end of my career, and I had the option. But then I got picked for Wales again, which really messed everything up at the age of 30. 32, and then I got to play for Wales again, which really messed up my opportunity to play in France.
See, form's temporary, but class is permanent, Mooney. Class is permanent. Neil, before we let you go, and just to wind Mooney up a little bit, first 2 games for Scotland, Old Enemy at home, and then Wales on the road. What do you reckon? Do we get off to a good start?
Yeah, you've got to look at two from 2, eh? It's I mean, easy start. Calcutta Cup in the bag, and then down to Wales, and the party will happen before and after the game, and I'm sure they'll do the job just to make it a better night in downtown Cardiff afterwards.
Love it. Neil, you're an absolute gentleman. I'm delighted you were able to come and join us. Team Sooth legend. All the very best, my friend.
Pleasure. Thanks, Bruce. Cheers, Rupert. Cheers, mate. Okay.
Now, Mooney, the first time I met you was doing a quiz for the My Name is Doddie Foundation, and since then I have pestered you for all sorts of things. And then last week I got to think this is a 2-way street. Tell us what you got up to on Friday night.
Oh, where was I on Friday? They're just gone.
Yeah.
I was at a party. Do you know? Am I allowed to say that? I don't know whether I'm allowed.
Yeah, it's okay. It wasn't a work gathering. It was definitely a party.
Yeah, my Go Compare friend. Was I the birthday party? Is that what you're saying? I'm not supposed to say. Are you not allowed to say that? Well, it was kind of a secret, but it was a secret party where I had to perform I was doing addressing the haggis at a friend's 50th birthday, let's put it like that. And I came to you in need of expertise and knowledge because I was addressing the haggis in front of a very large, distinguished audience. And I felt the pressure and I came to you. And in fairness, late at night, you came good for me. Not only did you give me the tips and hints, you actually sent me audio of what it should sound like. And it was fabulous. All I can say is fabulous. I would play it if you want me to, but
no.
It was
what I do want is your Scottish accent.
Yeah, I think that I would. I don't know whether I should actually do that from that point of view. I think I would frighten a lot of people if I actually did the whole accent thing. No, I better not. I'll be run out of town.
Now, you, Moody, you've done a lot, and you do lots for charity. You give your time and energy to lots of things. but you jumped into DoddieAid and you've been able to double it up with some other things that you're up to. Why was it important for you to get involved in DoddieAid?
Look, it can happen to any of us, and that's the reality. And yes, he's one of the best personalities in the game from when I was playing, and everybody loved him, and everybody loves him, and they would do anything for him. But I think that's the reality. And having done a similar thing to help Joost van der Westhuizen, who suffered and was an arch rival of mine, but a great friend of mine, and just was struck by this horrendous, horrific situation. But the bravery of both and what Doddie's done and Rob Burrows doing it is quite remarkable. And Doddie is just a remarkable individual, inspiring, engaging, and everybody will drop anything and everything to do everything they can to help and support this wonderful cause. We know it's a tough road, but that's why you do what you do, and that's why we do what we do, whatever we can.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. And you're properly into it with Team Baabaas. Now, I thought you were all hooked up for the Doddie Cup and to cycle this ball down the road. But it turns out you've got yourself a replacement.
Well, so I was approached by Alex Popham, and he said, Moony, you're doing this thing for me for Head for Change at the beginning of March. What we could do is do a little ride, like a kind of a warm-up thing to support DoddieAid. And I said, oh, yeah, look, that sounds a great idea. And he said, it's 500 miles. And he said, it's downhill. And I said, oh, that's great. Downhill, 500 miles downhill. Yeah, I'm convinced by that. And then he started to carry on saying, yeah, but you've got to do it in 48 hours. And really, it's kind of from a place up north to a place down south. Then he gave me a bit more detail. And it's not even a straight road. They're actually deviating across this way and that way, going up and over and round. And it looks horrendous. And so basically I said, look, I don't know whether I'd make it. I was 54 yesterday. I don't know whether I can. I'm not I'm not as fit as I used to be. I've been doing my cycling for Team Barbarians. Anyway, so I phoned up my lanky mate Tony Copsey, and he's all fists and flister. And I said, "Oh, look, I could make you a star again. People have forgotten all about you. All they remember is the fact that you threw a right hook on Neil Francis way back when, and they think you're a one-trick pony. Everybody will love you if you get involved in this. Will they? Will they?" He said, yeah. I said, yeah. All you got to do is cycle a bit. Yeah. Okay, I'm in. And then before he knew it, he was on the poster. He didn't even know what it was. And then he's with Alex Popham, Ian Goff, Colin Jarvis, and then the 6'5" lank of whatever, the lankiest second row that you'll ever seen. It's going to be hilarious because it is like a giraffe on the bike cycling downhill from Scotland.
Well, Jarvis is not exactly a small man. Goff's not exactly a small man.
Yeah, they like doing they cycle a lot, and they like doing triathlons and all that sort of stuff. And Pops is very fit. And then there's Copsey, who likes to sweat. He does enjoy wearing Lycra. I know that. I've seen pictures. He sends them on WhatsApp, posing away. Do I look good in this? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. So he's excited to get Lycra on and be with the boys.
Nice. Well, we're delighted with that. So I'm excited because for my first time, I am getting to go to the Wales-Scotland game. I've been in Cardiff on match day, but this time I've actually got a ticket. What are we going to see from Wales this year? Because let's face it, last year you fluked it by playing against 14 men for the whole bloody championship.
Well, you make your own luck, as they coin it for us. You make your own luck. So we're putting those individuals under pressure, and they just wilted under that pressure. We deserve a little bit of a break. We're missing Ken Owens, we're missing Alan Wynne-Jones, we're missing Navidi, Tipperick, Toby Falatau. Do I need to keep going? Okay, I'll keep going. George North, Lee Halfpenny. So no one gives us hope. In the autumn series, it was a little bit of a tough learning curve. We had to get some miles in on the clock with a few players. And look, we have still experience up front. You've got Thomas Francis. He's got a lot of caps. You've got Wynne-Jones. So there's, we're okay. Ryan Elias has got 20 odd caps. second row, we were okay. We got Will Rowlands. We got, we're okay. Adam Beard. And so the back row isn't so bad. We've got Tane. We've got Ellis Jenkins. Don't forget, you've got Aaron Wainwright. These guys have performed, maybe not as a collective, but they'll be okay. And then behind, look, Thomas Williams, we've got a choice of scrum halves. We've got loads of them. You can have anyone you want. They can have 20 minutes each if they wanted. Dan Wigger. We're even going to play, it looks like we'll play a winger in the centre, Josh Adams, just because we can. With Nick Thompson.
He's a bit of class, Josh Adams.
I think they like George when he played in the centre, so I think that they'll stick him in certainly on that, because you've got Johnny McNichol, you've got Liam Williams at fullback, and of course Lewis Rees-Sammet on the wing. So actually, if you go down, put it on, it's not a bad group there, really. And obviously it's going to be tough going to Ireland, but we've done well. We've done well. And then Scotland, we always win, except when we played at Parker Scarlets last time round.
Was that your idea? Was that your idea to play Parker Scarlets?
Yeah, that thriller. What was it? 13-10 or whatever. I think outside.
It was grim.
It was cold. That's what it was. It was cold. So
when the referee blew the whistle, both sides cheered that it was over.
Yeah. So everybody's written us off. We've got no hope. But they did that before. And they keep doing it. And we keep winning it. So
I love your enthusiasm, Moony. So before we let you disappear, I think you've had your tea, but no doubt there will be some afters for you, because you've been a very good boy, and it was your birthday yesterday.
Birthday cake is waiting. Birthday cake is waiting. I got my little, it's there. I can see it.
Give us your rallying call for Team Baabaas for the last 10 days of this thing.
If you do nothing else, please say a prayer for Tony Copsey and the boys, because they're going to need prayers. They are. It's 48 hours. It's going to. I am worried. They're going to try and make it for kickoff, but I think they might make it for the French game. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I believe that they will do it. I just don't know if they're going to get there in time for kickoff. But that's okay. So please, you'll see the GoFundMe. Help, help, help. They need all the help. I beg you.
I love you. I can't wait to see you in Cardiff.
Oh, take care, my friend.
Stay safe, buddy. Stay safe. I love him. Absolutely mad as a box of frogs. Now, he has been waiting very, very patiently. And I think this is the smolder. Listen to this. Jeremy Guskett, Scotland's favourite son. Whatever the sport, Andrew's commentary always seems to capture the moment perfectly. John Inverdale, in years to come, Andrew Cotter will be spoken of in terms of being one of this country's finest ever sports broadcasters. John Inverdale, we are not waiting for years to come. It is time to introduce the one and the only, one of the most handsome men in broadcasting, Andrew Cotter.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I do know what to say. Look, there she is.
Yes. Yes.
Who was that? The last guy? That was Elvis Costello you had on. I love Rupert Moon.
Yes, so do I. We do love him. Now, I'm not sure who has a bigger crush on you, Andrew Cotter, me or my wife.
Right. Okay,
but
we
are. It's not awkward. Well, it might be, but I don't know where you live yet. But you have entertained us with your commentaries. But then when lockdown hit, you couldn't do that, and you just came up with some little moments of gold. Did you feel silly doing that?
No, because at the time everything was silly, so it just seemed like normal at the time to do that. And it went on seeming normal as well. So I mean, that's almost 2 years ago now, because it was sort of around the Six Nations. It was around the end of the Six Nations. Rupert was talking there about Scotland Wales, and that was 2 years ago that game went, and everything sort of. That was the day before that. That I went out and commentated on these two. Yeah, they're both here because one of them's down there. Olive's down there, just lying in front of the fire. So this isn't my house, but I just hired this house for this chat. This is a show home. There's a couple from Chipping Sodbury being shown round at the moment, and they might be buying it. So I've got to do this quite quietly. So
are you baking bread as well as the live fire?
Coffee's on, and I don't know whose house this is. But anyway, yes. It's one of the show homes in a new development called Chestnut Grove, 4 and 5 home executive houses. What am I talking about? Yeah, so that just happened, and then it just went. I mean, it's look, everybody was crowded, huddled around social media as to entertain us, and so that's why it was a sort of perfect storm of ingredients for it all to take off, and it did with that one, and with the Game of Bones a couple of weeks later, with Mabel standing in a pond, with them being in a Zoom call, with Olive doing online dating, with Mabel building a flat pack furniture chest of drawers. I mean, clearly by that point I had lost the plot entirely, but I enjoyed doing it. I think it was in this room that we played poker as well. So yeah, and got them joining a home gym. Lots of strange things, videos I've done with them, but they entertain me constantly, and they sort of. I haven't got any more. You had the last one a minute ago, so just have a little think about that.
My lab's not allowed on the furniture. Maggie's not allowed on the furniture.
Well, they're not allowed on all furniture. I mean, they're not allowed on tables, but sofas and labs. What are you talking about? So you can't not let a Labrador. Olive didn't give us the choice to. We she existed on the floor, and then after a couple of years, she just hopped up and.
Well, Maggie has just hit year 2, and she'd be quite starstruck by seeing these two on the screen. So she's through watching this on the TV. She couldn't come through here.
She can hear this. Maggie, get up on the sofa. Maggie, up you get. Up.
I'm seriously close to getting a black boy because I want to call him Carlos after Carlos Spencer.
Well, I wonder what you're talking about there.
A black lab. Sorry, a black lab. But
Carlos Spencer, what a player!
Yeah. Oh, I love him. Do you know what? Maverick. I've got his number.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to be on my podcast, and he keeps saying yes and then no.
Right. Okay.
Not like you. You've agreed and signed the contract, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, when he says yes and no, that doesn't mean anything. It just means no, doesn't it? You've got to accept that, Bruce.
I know, but I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go.
No, hanging on there like a little terrier.
Six Nations. Are you excited?
I'm genuinely always excited about the Six Nations. Like, there are certain sporting events that really sort of get you going, get you, and the fact that it kicks off. Well, not kicks off. It's the second game, but on the opening weekend, you've got Scotland against England. It's one of those sporting events. People say, what are the sort of thrills of your sports broadcasting career? And doing certain events, you describe sitting on, centre court commentary box at Wimbledon or whatever it might be, or commentating on the Masters or the Open, but commentating on the Calcutta Cup, commentating on the Six Nations, when you grew up watching Bill McLaren, listening to him and watching, steeped in it through the Five Nations, and you just loved it, absolutely loved it. And it's sort of one of those events that is the emergence from winter as well. So it's got that feeling about it. I mean, we haven't really had a winter this winter, so it's just continual sort of murky spring. But
I saw you tweeted today that you're not overly impressed by the weather.
I mean, I'm doing weather tweets. What's that about? So it's like Wordle tweets. What are we doing?
What is that? Why have people started tweeting Wordle?
I don't know. It's a little bit like the fascination around the Olive and Mabel videos. It's social media is something that we're clinging to more and more now. We're disappearing off into the virtual world. We're all going to be, inhabitants of Mark Zuckerberg's head at some point, just wandering around, doing word puzzles and chatting to dogs. But well, the reason I went on about the weather is that I love the mountains and the snow, and these two do as well. They do. They love the snow, and they get dragged up onto peaks when it's about -25. And this winter, it's just not been possible at all. Last winter, when we weren't able to travel, the snow conditions were some of the best in the mountains you've seen for a while, but we obeyed the rules, didn't we? We didn't go there. We had no parties.
Did as we were told.
Did as we were told.
Look at this. Look at this, Andrew. This is Maggie watching. So look at this.
Well, I mean, you're
not really watching. Yeah, I think my wife had just said it to me, saying, "Look at this
dog who's been placed in front of something and told to stay for a photo." I know that dynamic very well indeed. So, So the weather, I tweeted about the weather because this Saturday for Murrayfield, the weather forecast at the moment is apocalyptic in terms of just wind and rain. And I was waiting for how long it would be before someone tweeted back going, oh, that'll be good for Scotland then, which is not, that was the case for Scotland when they were mince about 15 years ago. But now they're they're a skillful side, they're a fast side, they're quite a, and maybe sometimes underpowered side. So the last thing they want is bad conditions. They want a good pitch, they want good conditions. But they've got a good side now. And actually, they're going into the Six Nations for the first time in a while without many players missing. And sides like Scotland can't cope with players missing because they haven't got the strength and depth just out of sheer player numbers. Whereas England have got a huge number of players missing at the moment, but they have enormous reserves to call upon. So I think we're going to see those reserves, tested this weekend. That was a serious sporting chat.
That really was. That was far deeper than I thought we were getting into.
Let's just talk dogs.
Who do you like to interview? Who gives you a bit of butterflies in the belly before you speak to them?
I've never particularly been like that around sports people, but there are better interviewers than others, people that are good fun to interview, who will always just talk honestly. The trouble is with modern sports people is they're so heavily coached in media terms, in terms of don't give too much away and play it with a straight bat and be safe and don't say anything that's going to get you into a little bit of bother. So I still like the people that talk honestly and openly, and yes, they might, their sponsors occasionally might go, oh, why did he say that? But I love Rory McIlroy. Has always been a fascinating interview, and he always says very, very interesting things. A lot of the golfers are very good to talk to, and the rugby players always have been, but you can see it has come in the last few years that players don't want to give away too much. Whereas in the amateur days, they would have been standing with the journalists at the bar afterwards. A lot of it would have been Chatham House rules, and not everything stays within these four walls. But a lot of that has gone, and I kind of see it from the players' point of view, the sports people's point of view, because anything that is said is not just there for the live broadcast now; it's there for in perpetuity on social media. So they've got to be careful about what they say, because things are taken out of context now as well. You'll see a little clip. Oh, look at this player saying these words here. These words offend me and I'm cross. Well, they might have been preceded by words which actually explained it a little bit more. But we don't see that anymore. We just want to get angry. I want to get angry.
We do want to get angry. Some people are getting angry because TikTok are now in the game. Are you on TikTok?
I was told early on in the Olive and Mabel thing by somebody who is very, very powerful figure in the world of media.
Gabby Logan
said even more powerful. If you can imagine such a thing.
No.
I can't. Hazel Irvine. No.
We love Hazel. I thought for a long time that Ailey Barber had seen Hazel off, because we hadn't seen or heard of Hazel for such a long time.
Hazel saw herself off. She wanted to spend more time with her family. And you've got to applaud. Hazel is just the business. She's fantastic, and she's the hardest working person in broadcasting. So she's doing the winters just now, and she'll still do the snooker, but she didn't want to do the I think she didn't want to travel to the golf as well and do things like that. So I do the ceremonies now with her at the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, whatever, and she is just brilliant, because if you are struggling for something to say, she'll be there with a fact.
You did the opening ceremony of the Commie Games in Glasgow, didn't you?
It's terrible that I can't remember that. Certainly did the closing ceremony where it was just largely a Kylie Minogue concert. But
how good did you love do? Is it nice to do things at home?
What, just in general, baking, knitting, I don't know.
Looking after the
broadcasting
dogs,
from
poker.
Home. Yeah, exactly. Are you talking about broadcasting from?
Yeah, so being in Glasgow, being in Edinburgh, being in Scotland.
Okay. Yeah, I do. I love because every time I get a chance to do an event that's up in Scotland, I get a chance to A, see family, or B, more importantly, go into the mountains on my own and wander around just chatting to myself.
You say that on your own, but on your website, there's a lot of pictures of you smouldering into the distance. There must have been a photographer there with you.
I find a random stranger who might be up and say, "Could you take a photo of me?" Because I don't want to look into the distance here. Look thoughtful. Right, what's that over there? Nothing. I'm just staring into the distance. And sometimes I'll even set it up on a tripod. Oh, I'll just go and stare into the. I've only got 10 seconds to get from the tripod to get into the position to stare into the distance. So you're stumbling over the rocks. You're trying. No, I've only done that once. There's a guy I climb with quite a lot actually called Ian Cameron, who's a sort of snow expert and loves the mountains, loves the dogs as well, and he's a brilliant photographer as well. So lots of photos of Olive and Mabel up in the mountains. He's taken them. So yeah, we just wander around, a couple of miserable Scottish people, just enjoying the mountains and the silence.
There's no such thing as a miserable Scottish person. You've been away too long.
We're
all cheerful up here now.
I could list about 3 million off the top of my head. So what are you talking about? When people say Andy Murray, oh, Andy Murray's so miserable. No, he's not. He's mid-table in terms of doer Scott. There are lots. The thing is, there are lots of cheery people as well, and we've mentioned Kenny Logan already, like a human Labrador, and Doddie himself is just the most life-affirming, optimistic, sunny dispositioned person you could find, and I that's why people love Doddie, because he is, he's the absolute other end of the spectrum to someone like me who sees woe and everything. And that's why I need to sort of pay attention to people like Doddie, because whatever happens in life and the world, he will say, right, how can we make things better? Or how can things will be better? And it's that sort of Panglossian attitude, but it's not just about hoping that things will be okay. It's we're going to do things to make things better. And I just, I joke about how sort of dour and miserable I am, and I am, but I have no end of admiration for someone like Doddie who just says, right, okay, I'm not feeling sorry for myself. We're going to do something to make things better, not just better for myself, but better for other people as well. And if there were more people like that in the world and fewer people sitting moaning about the weather on social media, then the world would be a better place. So.
I think you make the world a better place. Now, as I look at your website and all the
Stop
events,
looking at my website. I don't do my website anymore,
No,
so I've abandoned it. So
I know you don't. You need to get somebody on that. The millions you're being paid, you could afford somebody to do your own bloody website.
Get her to do it. So there we go.
Look at that.
This is my website manager here. That's why my website doesn't do anything anymore, and it's just sitting in sort of mothballs, because this is my website manager. See, she's opened her eyes at mention of her job title. She knows that she should be doing something, but she's just basic HTML code is beyond her, and so she doesn't know how to improve it.
She knows that the work is lining up. You don't need your website to get jobs anymore. So Six Nations comes along, and you get to go to some nice places. Is it just another job, or do you get, I know you're saying you don't get excited by sports people, but you must get excited by the event and the build up to it.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. And when I'm sitting there just before kickoff on Saturday, that's when you're getting yourself ready and you're preparing and you're concentrating, but also you sort of step back just a little bit and go, God, I'm so fortunate to be doing this, and it's a privilege, and so you want to do it properly, not just for your own personal pride and quality control, but because you're doing a job that is you have that honor of doing it, and you want to do it properly for everybody that's watching. There'll be 8 to 10 million people watching on Saturday. I shouldn't have thought of that. That's made me nervous. Don't say anything wrong, Andrew. Well, I mean, I will. That's just the nature of the beast. But
does that feel like your cap? You being able to? I mean, is commentating on those massive events? Is that like you're at the Olympics? That's your Olympics. Being at the Six Nations, that's your.
I suppose it is in a way, but it's also I mean, I'm well aware that it falls far short of being somebody who's actually standing there singing the anthem, or somebody standing on a podium or lining up for 100 meters at the Olympics.
But not everybody can do what you do either.
They probably can, but I just don't tell people that. We'll do away with this anyway. It'll all be automated commentary in 10 years' time. Just press a button for Oh, what a try. Mark Zuckerberg will come up with something. He'll do Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but he'll ask you to voice it.
Ah, good. No, when I shook my fist at you there, Zuckerberg, I didn't mean that. I meant, here's my number. Get in touch, and we'll provide the commentary bot 3000. So I'm in at the ground level on that, Mark. If we could get going on that in the metaverse,
the Cotter bot,
yes,
Cotterbot
commentary
2000.
in the metaverse. Yeah, it is. It is. It's yes, those days of commentating on big events, I suppose they are similar in that you feel the nerves beforehand. You've done all your work stroke training to get ready for it, and then you try and deliver a bit of a performance on the day. So perhaps it is a little bit like that. But you'd swap a few of those. I wouldn't swap it all, but I'd swap a few for one cap. You know.
Yeah,
just,
I think Bill
lining up
McLaren
the
said
country.
something very similar, didn't he?
Yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you? That's why I don't take it. You know, I mean, I've spoken a wee bit in the past about I understand residency qualifications, but I don't think it would mean the same for somebody who's there because of their job, and I don't blame them at all coming to play professional rugby, and I don't blame the coaches for selecting them. Those are the rules. They are changing slightly shortly. But if you've grown up in a country and you feel passionate about that country, and you feel quite patriotic, then to stand there lining up in the shirt of your country, that would always mean far more when you're thinking about your friends and your family and your relatives and everyone that's gone before you in that country, and you're thinking, yeah, that would mean far more. That's just a matter of fact, isn't it? But international sport now is a bit more fluid. And that's just the nature of the beast. So I don't, I understand it. And, when when a giant South African scores a try for either side on Saturday, you just have to say, and the other thing I would say about that is, even though I'm a patriotic Scot, because people say, how do you remain impartial? You really do. And I almost go out my way to remain neutral because it's so important. More people watching on Saturday will be English than Scottish. So you're not there to be a cheerleader. And I never like to see that creeping into sports commentary nowadays. That's not what we're there for. We're there to describe it neutrally, with the passion and with the enthusiasm, but neutrally, so that everyone else can impart their support and their desires upon it. So I'm very, very, when you're commentating, you're just concentrating so hard on saying the right thing and identifying people properly.
Trying to ignore some of the pundits as well, I would imagine.
Well, no, I mean, that's another thing in rugby. They're all so good, and they're all such great fun as well. So
you liar!
No, genuinely, absolutely. Everybody, and here's the thing that I would say about because people, for some reason, people have latched on to Brian Moore, and people say, "Oh, he's so English." He's not. He's English, yes, but he's as critical of England as he is of any other country, and he praises any country that's playing good rugby and criticizes points out when a side has made a mistake. And they're all such good analysts.
His autobiography is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah,
Brian Moore's autobiography is. I read that on the plane. I started in London and read it all the way to. I'm a PE teacher, so it takes me a while. I read it all the way to Auckland, and it was magnificent.
He's wonderful. Loved it. He's wonderful, and it's we'll enjoy Saturday is all I'll say.
Yes, I think you will. Of all the events you've done, is there one you would still like to do?
It sounds terrible when I think about it. I can't think of an event because that sounds like I've done everything and I'm just going to retire.
You've done almost everything, I think. Did you do crafts? Have you done crafts?
No, I don't. This is terrible. I'm not a fan of showing dogs and professional dog breeders. I don't mean that. I mean people who show dogs, as in it's very, very structured and their noses must be this length and I will just feel their undercarriage there. Yes, it's a good undercarriage. Absolutely. The tail,
I'm so pleased somebody has said undercarriage on DoddieAid Live. There you go. Yeah, we've ticked every box now.
I didn't know what else to call it. Undercarriage. So Nether regions. But anyway, I don't. I like dogs to be healthy, and sometimes I think we create dog breeds that I'd love to have a dog that has this shaped head. Can we make that happen? Can we get a dog with almost that shaped head? And can we get them together to be special friends and then see what we can create? I'm not really a fan of what we've created dogs for our own needs and sometimes for our own entertainment. And I don't necessarily like the fact that creates health problems in some dogs. So I like dogs to be dogs, and then sit at a poker table and I'll commentate on them playing poker. I've kind of defeated my own argument there, haven't I?
That was genius. So there's nothing in particular that you would love to do. There's no event. Is there someone you would like to sit next to you then to be a pundit? And
I don't know. Put on the spot now, and I can't think. I'd sit next to Olive and Mabel as co-commentators. Like Olive's turned up. I don't know. She wants something. Olive only turns up when she wants something. What do you want, Olive? What is it? I haven't got.
Oh, Mabel's into it now as well.
Mabel's into it now, but her ear is slightly folded over, so she's lost a little bit of dignity and gravitas and that. So let's just fold that back over.
There are few things more lovely than a Labrador's lugs.
Oh, they're fantastic. I just stroke that forever. It would just
so good.
Silken, soft, silken ears.
Yeah, just don't tell Cruella de Vil, because then she would be after all the Labradors for their ears.
No, exactly. Make a handbag out of Labrador ears. Don't do that, people. I don't think anybody does do that. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't know who I'd like to sit next to. I'd like to sit next to nobody up a mountain and just have a think about things. Just
look out into the distance.
Into the abyss.
Look out into the nether regions. Look out into the nether regions.
The nether regions of the mountains. Yeah, there we go.
Will you be able to do a Doddie dog walk before heading to Murrayfield at the weekend?
I mean, I do a dog walk every day, so I don't know. I could probably. I've been cycling for Doddie, although I've kind of injured myself a little bit and running. So I'm wearing a Northern Midlands snood from last year. I'm not with Northern Midlands this year. I'm with Glasgow.
I'm glad somebody is. I'm glad somebody's with Glasgow, because
I know Glasgow aren't really living up to their massive population. I don't know what they're just doing. They're just idle. Come on, Glasgow. Come on, Glasgow in general. Sort yourself out. I'll be walking the dogs, and I was asked to do the cycle as well. Rob Wainwright, who's just a bully, a necessary bully. He's mad. He lives on an island that he's like a Scaramanga, was it?
I think Rob's got 3 nipples as well.
Yeah, well, possibly.
Yeah.
And
he's got a mate that looks like Knick Knack.
He's got exactly a very small friend who sort of activates the controls for a massive device to capture the sun. That's what Rob Wainwright does. And I wouldn't put it past him, actually. So he asked me to do the cycle, or do a stage of the cycle that's going from Edinburgh to Cardiff for next weekend, Scotland against Wales. But I think he thought I was commentating on that, but Eddie Butler's commentating on that one. So I don't know if he was going to get Eddie involved. Eddie would have an electric bike, and he would narrate the journey beautifully.
No, do you know, if I had to toss the coin, I think I would have you narrating my montage than I would Eddie Butler.
Oh, I don't know. He writes a good script as well. Eddie. So there we go. So I'm not doing that cycle, but I'll do a few more cycles for Doddie. I've been doing Wednesday and Sunday cycles in general with Chris Hoy on Zwift as well. So they get a few people involved. Austin Healy, he can cycle. Goodness me. I think that's when I injured myself trying to keep up with him. That was the problem.
We had Austin Healy on Saturday night for the curry night a couple of weeks ago. He was you can see why he gets himself in trouble.
But he doesn't care, and he doesn't. I tell you, as an analyst goes, when I do stuff on BT Sport, he is top quality in terms of reading the game. Cool, blimey. That's the last bit of praise I'll give Austin.
He was saying he's got every England shirt. I think he's played in every position for England. What did he reckon? He's got 9, 10, 11, 14, 15. Has he got 13? I think he's only missing 12. He said he's got quite a lot of 16s back in the day when backs were the lower numbers of the subs.
He was a hell of a player, but that versatility, I think, was just almost a curse for him at the end. So I'm down to 23% battery. Why didn't I plug this laptop in? So
no, don't worry, because I think I'm going to have to let you go. Although I could stay here with the smolder all night.
Smolder, what's that all about?
Before, I mean, you do.
She's
though.
smouldering.
You
She is
do
smouldering.
You do it beautifully. Come on, with your insider knowledge and with all the research you do and the people you speak to, are Scotland going to win a Grand Slam?
Oh, well, if I say no, that'll be clipped up and it'll be out of context again, because you'll just do that thing to me.
You're giving our editing far too much credit here.
Exactly. Well, let me.
This is a one-take show. Trust me.
I think Scotland have got as good a squad as they've had in a long time. I mean, again, so much.
Listen to Mr. Media Traded. Get on with and answer the question.
You know, I think that's a good question, Bruce, you asked, but I would say that I'm just going to wait for the report to come out and see what the findings are. I don't want to jump to any conclusions and get ahead of ourselves. And no, they do. But again, this game on Saturday is enormous. In Scotland, Scotland have England and France at home. But when I was growing up, those were considered possible Grand Slam years because Scotland were very good. And if you had England and France at home, then you could think about
your chance.
That was a really good chance, and quite often it came to pass that they do pretty well. But England and France at home, that they I don't think they're good. I think the favourites for the title are still Ireland and France, although Ireland have to go away to France and to England. So I would say France are probably the favourites, but England with their strength and depth. I'm just umming and ahhing.
This is Scotland, exciting though, isn't it? Because it is so up in the air.
It is up in the air, and Scotland actually could beat any side in there. So, but you've got to have a good bit of luck, and you've got to avoid injuries, and you've got to avoid sendings off. So, I don't know, wag a finger there. What am I doing? Because I'm some wise Gandalf. Oh, Frodo, what are you doing? It's quite cool.
Don't get sent off, boys. Don't get sent off.
Yeah. So there we are. I listen. All I can say is I'm looking forward to it immensely, and I think that it's Northern Hemisphere rugby. I think is in pretty good shape as well. So we shall see. I'm looking forward to it immensely. She cannot wait. Look at the excitement. Oh, so excited for the Six Nations. So there we are.
Love that we got to finish on that. I am hugely honoured that you joined us this evening, sir, and I have absolutely loved speaking to you, and I might try and see if my access some areas pass on Saturday will let me come and annoy you.
Oh, you can come and say hello. Yeah, come and say hello. Say hello. Brian will be there. Brian,
you can come down to the Thistle Suite. Come down to the Thistle Suite after.
There's too many people there. I just try and stay away from people. I'll see you up a mountain.
No, you won't. There's more chance of me getting you in the Thistle Suite, I reckon.
All right, okay, excellent. Is that like the nether regions? I'll get you
it's the undercarriage of Murrayfield's main stand.
A fine Thistle Suite there. So right.
Yes, okay. We'll leave you that one. Thank you, sir. All the very best, and thank you for your support.
Cheers. I'm going to leave studio. Bye-bye.
So you've seen a big hitter of the broadcasting world with Andrew Cotter. You gotta love it. DoddieAid on a Wednesday night. We went a bit longer than normal, but he's a tough, for someone who normally asks the questions, it seemed like he was enjoying getting a chance to answer them. And I agree with Shona Webster. Andrew is brilliant. That is something that we should probably get put on Doddie t-shirts. Andrew is brilliant. And Tina, you're wrong. Just take it, even though you won Genius, you're wrong. It's a Labrador. Thank you very much for tuning in. It has been an absolute pleasure. We've only got one more to go because we finish on the 12th of February with the DoddieAid's 500 cycle down to the DoddieAid Cup down in Cardiff. If you're going to be there, I'm going to be there. I'll see you there, and we'll wear these things and we'll get pictures taken on the last day. We've got big games coming up. We've got the Doddie Dog Walk on Saturday. Get out with your pooch, get them leaded and collared up, and get out there. Send us your pictures. Do you know something I'm going to ask you to do before you disappear? Can you take a picture, please, of where you are right now, who you're watching with? Give us your setup. Have you got the TV on and we're just on a wee screen here? Are you on the bus? Where are you? If you can you please just put a picture in so that we can see where you are and what you're doing and who you're with, so that we can feel like we are connected. You've heard a lot about Big Dodge tonight. You've heard from people he's played with and against, and people that just have admired him from afar. He's doing great things. Don't you just love Davy Zyw? He is magnificent and he is inspirational. If you haven't seen the clip that's been on social media, scroll back through and see what you can see. It's brilliant. It tugs your heart, and hopefully it gives you some inspiration to go out there, earn some more pennies, because this disease is curable. It's just underfunded, to quote the magnificent Sean McGrath, the doc who is doing it for MND. It's been so good. Thank you to the guests. Thank you to Davy. Thank you to Neil. Thank you to Moony, who is one of life's good guys. Thank you to Andrew Cotter and Olive and Mabel. Oh, I'm so glad they dropped in. Thank you to you for watching and all your comments and getting involved. If you won the Genius, if you were one of the district prizes, please get in touch with Genius so that they can get your 12 tins out to you. Thank you to Genius for their continued support of what's going on. Thank you to the Cycle Jersey for the snoods. Get involved in everything that's coming up. The Swifts with Chris Hoy, with the Doddie Dog Walk, with everything that we've got for these last 10 days. Keep going, people. Keep going. We can do a little bit more. Tell your friends, get them involved too. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very, very much, because otherwise I'd just be talking to myself in a room on my own. It's been good to have you here. If you've enjoyed it, my name's Bruce Aitchison. If you haven't, that's right, I'm Andy Nicol. See you next week and have a great weekend. Come on, Scotland, the Grand Slam's on. Still, at the moment.